On one hand, Prime Minister Modi boasts about Operation Sindoor, claiming that both Pakistan and Congress still haven't recovered from Operation Sindoor, calling the Gandhis the royal family of the Congress. While campaigning for Bihar Assembly elections in Ara, Modi said when blasts were happening in Pakistan, the Congress royal family lost their sleep. To date, both Pakistan and Congress Namdars haven't recovered from Operation Sindoor. On the other hand, Donald Trump, his best friend, has been openly trolling him for Operation Sindoor. In one interview, Trump laughed and said, "They were ready to fight. I stopped that war." He did not say India stopped it. He didn't say Modi stopped it. He said he did. And this isn't new. In 2019, Trump publicly threatened both India and Pakistan with trade sanctions if they did not calm down after Balakot. Behind the scenes, he called both leaders, telling them to stand down. Within 24 hours, the war talk was over. Trump has been reminding the world that it was he, not Modi, who saved South Asia from war. The same Trump whom Modi once called his best friend. Today, Modi doesn't mention his name. He doesn't tag him on X. He doesn't even risk being photographed near him because Trump has turned the Operation Sindoor narrative on its head. For every claim Modi makes about the 56-inch chest, 56 inch ki chhati, Trump counters with a smirk. I stopped that war. And the Prime Minister of India, the self proclaimed strongman, remains silent. Hiding, not thundering, avoiding, not confronting. And as Modi performs his muscular nationalism at rallies, reality has performed a surgical strike of its own. Because while Trump mocks him and China expands, India has just lost something far more important than an election slogan, its only airbase in Central Asia. This is not a story about slogan. It's about how a nation that once dreamed of reach has started retreating. This is the story of Aini, an airbase in Tajikistan. Aini is located just about 15 kilometers west of Dushanbe, the capital of Tajikistan, and roughly 20 to 25 kilometers from the Afghan Tajikistan border via the Wakhan corridor, which borders Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Aini, also known as the Gisar military aerodrome, offered India one of its rare forward military footholds beyond the subcontinent. Its location gave India a unique advantage to oversee any kind of operation in Afghanistan. Since 2014, Narendra Modi's brand has thrived on muscular nationalism. The 56-inch chest, 56 inch ki chhati, the surgical strikes at Balakot, and now Operation Sindoor. But beneath the roar lies a quieter truth. While India celebrates imagined victories, it's quietly losing real ground in the world. Because as we celebrate a symbolic Operation Sindoor, we have quietly been expelled from a very real base, the Ayni Airbase in Tajikistan. Before we talk about the loss of Aini, let's step back and ask, where else does India actually have a military presence abroad? Unlike the United States or China, India's presence is small, built on partnerships, not dominance. It's cooperative, not colonial, and that makes every single foothold fragile. Let's start with Bhutan, our oldest ally. Since the 1960s, India's IMTRAT team, The Indian military training team has trained Bhutan's army and guarded its northern frontier from Chinese incursions. It's our oldest foreign mission, quiet, effective, and respected. And second, let's talk about Oman. In Oman, India secured access to the Dukm port in 2018, a deep water facility for refueling and repairing Indian Navy ships. Alongside it, the Ras Al Had radar post monitors movement in the Gulf of Oman. Together, they serve as India's western eyes, watching the Arabian Sea and protecting vital oil routes. Mauritius and Seychelles, the island outposts. In Mauritius, India built a 3-kilometer runway on Argalega Island, designed to host the maritime patrol aircraft like the P-8I. It extends India's reach deep into the southern Indian Ocean. But plans for Assumption Island in Seychelles did not survive domestic backlash. The deal was scrapped amid sovereignty protests. Once again, India learned that influence without ownership has limits. Madagascar, the listening post. On Madagascar's coast, India runs a small radar station, part of its oceanic information grid that tracks ships and submarines across western Indian Ocean. It's modest but crucial, a single radar in the sea of power of politics. In Indonesia, India has a refueling rights at Sabang port, strategically located at the mouth of the Malacca Strait, at the same corridor where China's navy passes daily. And in Iran, India built the Chabahar port to reach Afghanistan and Central Asia without Pakistan's interference. It was meant to be India's counterweight to China's Gwadar port, but shifting sanctions and Tehran's tilt toward Beijing have made Chabahar more symbolic than substance. And then the Maldives, once a friendly outpost, now a diplomatic slap. For years, India stationed about 80 personnel there, pilots, engineers, and Coast Guard staff to operate Dornier aircraft and helicopters donated for humanitarian relief. But after 2023 election, the new president, Mohammad Muizu, openly backed Beijing and declared India out. By mid 2024, Indian troops were withdrawn quietly, no confrontation, no protest, just silence. And soon after, Chinese advisors began arriving in Malé. From Aini in the north to the Maldives in the south, India's perimeter of influence is shrinking, and that is happening faster than we want to admit. And finally, Tajikistan, the Ayni Airbase. Built, upgraded, and maintained by India since 2002, our only air power projection point beyond the Indian Ocean, our strategic lifeline to Afghanistan. And now it's gone. Each of these stories carries the same moral. Friendship is not a substitute for strategy. Access is not the same as control. And when alliances change, we pay the price. So, how did we lose Aini, the crown jewel of India's northern reach? Let's go back to where it all began. India's presence in Tajikistan did not begin with Aini. It began in the 1990s under RAW's covert project in Farkhor Airbase. Back then, India supported Ahmad Shah Massoud's Northern Alliance, fighting the Taliban long before the world cared. When Massoud was assassinated in 2001, he was airlifted to Farkhor, the only foreign base India ever operated covertly. Then came Aini, 10 kilometers from Dushanbe, rebuilt with Indian money, equipped with Indian radar, ready to host the Su 30 MKIs and the Mi 17 helicopters. It was our northern eye, our silent insurance against Taliban resurgence. During the 2000s, Aini played a quiet but vital role. Intelligence monitoring, logistics, even emergency evacuation. When Kabul fell in 2021, Aini became India's corridor of escape. Hundreds of citizens, embassy staff, and journalists were evacuated through that narrow air corridor between Kabul and Dushanbe. For 2 decades, Aini was India's invisible lifeline to Afghanistan until geopolitics caught up. Beginning in the early 2000s, with renovation work which started around 2002, India invested tens of millions of dollars to extend that runway to 3,200 meters, build hangars, modernize the radar ATC infrastructure with the goal of supporting operations in Afghanistan, especially during the Northern Alliance era, and projecting power along the northwest flank. However, over time, shifting geopolitics, especially the Taliban's return in Afghanistan, the collapse of India's Northern Alliance link, as well as increasing pressure from Russia and China on Dushanbe, eroded the base's strategic utility. When bilateral lease expired in 2022 and Tajikistan declined to renew it, India quietly dismantled its presence in Aini. Officially, New Delhi says the Aini lease concluded peacefully. Unofficially, it was pressure. Russia has 7,000 troops permanently stationed in Tajikistan. China has poured 3 billion in loans, built border outposts, and controls mining rights in Tajikistan. To both Moscow and Beijing, an Indian base just 20 kilometers away from the capital was a big problem. Their message to Dushanbe was simple: choose between us and Delhi. Tajikistan chose them, and India quietly packed up and left. No debate in parliament, no statement from South Bloc, just quiet withdrawal. By 2025, the radars were dismantled, the hangars shut, the helicopters gone. A base that symbolized India's ambition, now an empty shell on foreign soil. 2 decades of presence erased in silence. From Doklam to Depsang and now Aini, the pattern repeats. Confrontation, compromise, retreat. The louder the speeches, the smaller the footprint. Each time the Prime Minister boasts of victory, the map quietly shrinks behind him. Operation Sindoor made headlines, but Aini's silence will echo longer in history because nations don't rise on speeches, they rise on strategy. Power built on noise collapses when the noise stops. Aini was not just a runway, it was foresight. It was proof that India could think beyond its borders, and we let it slip away. History does not measure chests, it measures depth. Power isn't what you say you have, it's what remains when the shouting ends. Thank you for watching. I'm Ajay Prakash.